Hey everyone, David Muir here with the Facecast, and the one image so many people talking about today, the St. Louis Rams, the players, and that pose. Hands up, don't shoot. They did it in solidarity with the protesters in Ferguson. The St. Louis Police Officers Association now saying they're profoundly disappointed with the display. They called for players to be disciplined, but our partners over at ESPN now learning that there will be no fines. And out of one headline involving American troops, one question really, are they going to be at risk here at home over the holidays? Will it actually affect what they do here on Facebook and posting on other social media? The FBI now issuing a strong warning advising members of the military that ISIS and its supporters may seek to target them on U.S. soil, similar to the attack on a Canadian soldier in Ottawa last month. The FBI now encouraging military to dial back their social media presence and to lower their profile. Well, this just in, it's Cyber Monday. Bet you haven't heard that. Retail sales way down from Thanksgiving, and on Black Friday the day after, down 11% from last year. Speaking of online sales, here's something you can add to the cart. Girl Scout cookies. After nearly 100 years of going door to door, the Girl Scouts will now be selling cookies online, each Scout getting their own personalized page, even a mobile app. And to the one thing blowing up so many Facebook news feeds, that trailer. 40 million views already, the new trailer for Star Wars, The Force Awakens from our parent company Disney. And the one thing you might not have known, that sound at the very end, here it is. That's Luke Skywalker's lightsaber from the original Star Wars, 1977. It was a good decade. One more thing, I'll see you tonight. Hey there, David Muir with the Facecast, and the one image today, Detroit in darkness. It comes after a massive power outage, plunging many public buildings and fire stations into darkness. People evacuated through stairwells, some reportedly stuck in elevators, schools dismissed early, and we're now learning the cause of failure on an older grid that provides power to downtown. There'll be a lot of questions about our aging infrastructure across the country. To the one big headline we're watching overseas, a big arrest. The wife of this man, ISIS leader al-Baghdadi, we've now learned she was arrested in Lebanon more than a week ago near a border crossing with Syria. She was traveling with a child and carrying fake ID. She's now being questioned by the Lebanese Defense Ministry. To the one thing in the West they haven't seen in a while, the rain. There will be a lot of it, even snow in some parts. 80% of the state is in an extreme drought, so they could use this, though the storm has millions bracing for possible mudslides across land already scorched by wildfires. But it was a beautiful day somewhere. The one song today that had us doing the double take. That's actually rock star Chris Martin. He teamed up with Bruce Springsteen, both of them to the rescue, subbing for Bono and U2's annual concert for World AIDS Day in Times Square. Bono's still recovering from a bike accident in New York City last month where he injured his eye socket and fractured his shoulder blade and elbow, but the concert was really something. And of course, we're wishing him well. Speedy recovery from Bono. Thanks for watching our big day 2 of the Facecast, and one more thing, we'll see you tonight. Hey, it's David Muir with the Facecast here, and you've got to see this surveillance tape. It's the one story overseas about that American teacher attacked and killed. This is the tape of the suspect who allegedly attacked and killed that teacher in an Abu Dhabi mall, stabbed to death in a public restroom by a suspect wearing a traditional black robe and full-faced veil. The images released by police. The victim was a 37-year-old mother of twins who lived there. There's no indication that the attack was linked to terrorism, but ISIS has called on its supporters this fall to attack Westerners, which is prompting an international investigation. Of course, the one storm we're watching today in California, those major mudslides and massive rains. Take a look at the pictures, submerging homes like this one with mud and downing trees across the state. All eyes on the dry hillsides too, devastated by wildfires last year. But this caught our eye today. California's major cities still need at least 5 times more rain than they've received in just this storm to even begin to put a dent in drought. Now to one major concern, and this all comes after that image of the government testing on passenger planes. Watch this, that smoke is coming from a rechargeable lithium battery found in everything from laptops to your cell phones, overheating. This video from a government test simulating what could happen when those batteries are shipped in bulk in the cargo bay of the plane. There are new questions about what's being done to prevent this. And here's a question for you today. Can you guess the one song breaking that little counter on YouTube? Apparently the song's been viewed so many times that YouTube had to upgrade its system to display the right count. So here it is, the song, oh no. Oppan Gangnam Style. Yes, it's Psy's Gangnam Style. Apparently the counter limit before now was 2.1 billion, and he surpassed that. 2.15 billion now, yes with a B. Someone is still listening to that song. One more thing, I'll see you on Rollies tonight. Hey everyone, David Muir here with the Facecast, and the one phrase being repeated by so many protesters across this country. I can't breathe. Those, of course, the words of Eric Garner, the unarmed black man who was subdued by a white police officer using a chokehold. We all know that Garner later died. Protesters now in several cities taking to the streets after a Staten Island grand jury here in New York City deciding no charges will be filed against that officer. One arrest making headlines around the world, and this comes after that video we showed you. The arrest taking place in the United Arab Emirates, releasing this video announcing they've taken a female suspect into custody in the murder of an American school teacher. That's the suspect there, dressed in black. She also allegedly placed a bomb in front of another American resident's home, a doctor. According to officials, the victims were targeted based on nationality. The attack on that teacher, the deadly attack, happened in Abu Dhabi in a luxury mall. Now to one hero and one 911 call you've got to hear.
And all of a sudden my bus started smoking and now it's in flames.
That's the voice of a bus driver being called a hero today. A cell phone camera capturing this. A school bus on fire in Florida. 38 middle schoolers on board. The quick-thinking driver hustling the students off the bus before it was fully engulfed in flames. That fire so hot it blew out the windows. And now to the one name everyone is talking about today. Listen to this.
Bond. James Bond.
That's right, James Bond is back. Daniel Craig returning as 007 in the 24th installment of the franchise. The film is going to be called Spectre, with new co-stars Ralph Fiennes and Christoph Waltz. Italian Monica Bellucci picks up the Bond girl role. And by the way, she's 50 years old. Not bad. And new wheels, a bespoke Aston Martin this time around. That's the one thing shaken, not stirred. And one more thing. We'll see you on World News Tonight. Hey there, it's David Muir with the Facecast, and the one thing breaking today, that explosive story in Rolling Stone about alleged rape at UVA, well, now apparently an about face. Rolling Stone, in that article, they broke the young woman who said she was gang raped at a UVA frat house. Well, now Rolling Stone is apologizing to anyone affected by the story because they say there now appear to be discrepancies in her account. Rolling Stone saying they never contacted any of the men who she alleged participated in the attack. The outrage just beginning to come in. Now to the one image being repeated in so many cities across this country, the protests, and these demonstrations are really expected to continue heading into the weekend. Thousands of demonstrators across the country taking to the streets overnight to protest the grand jury's decision not to indict the police officer involved in the death of Eric Garner. Of course, that chokehold caught on tape. From Chicago to Portland, Oregon, from Atlanta to New York, more than 200 protesters were arrested here in New York City for disorderly conduct and failing to clear the streets. Today, by the way, the NYPD is beginning a new pilot program outfitting dozens of New York City cops with body cameras they'll now wear. To the one thing taking off today, literally.
And liftoff.
The liftoff of NASA's new spacecraft Orion, the historic test flight blasting off from Cape Canaveral. Cheers from Mission Control. And look at this, splashing down there in the Pacific with those parachutes from 3,600 miles above the Earth. Picture perfect, according to NASA. The Orion program is designed to one day carry astronauts deep into space, and they hope Mars included. And the one thing royal today, the visit. Prince Will and Duchess Kate arriving in the U.S. this weekend, flying commercial, by the way. And we're learning on the itinerary during their first royal trip to New York, a dinner for their alma mater, St. Andrews, where they met. They're expected to get together with former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and Chelsea Clinton, too. And then there's that trip to Brooklyn for a Nets game where it's believed they might be hanging out with Jay-Z and Beyonce. Still waiting for that call. One more thing. I'll see you on World News Tonight. Hi everyone, David Muir with the Facecast here, and the one image to get started here today, and it really looked like downtown LA was on fire. Look at this image. The overnight picture is really stunning. It all began with one fire early this morning engulfing an apartment complex that was under construction, damaging many other buildings, forcing freeways to close. More than 250 firefighters battled the huge blaze, able to contain most of the fire. Listen to this, within 90 minutes, and amazingly, there were no injuries. The one lasting image from Sunday football in America, the players wearing "I Can't Breathe." Running back Reggie Bush wearing a Detroit Lions shirt with the "I Can't Breathe" message written right on the front. The image captured during pregame warm-ups. It comes as a sweeping new federal policy is announced, already in the works. Federal agents will be barred now from considering race or ethnicity, religion, national origin, and sexual orientation. To the one headline from Washington that's going to be really big over the next 24 hours, and it involves the CIA. It's the Senate's CIA torture report. U.S. embassies around the world have been put on alert, concern growing over reaction to what's in the report, which will examine interrogation practices used by the CIA after the September 11th attacks. Switch things up here. And the one number that caught our eye today, and it certainly wouldn't leave us grumpy, a lot of talk that Grumpy Cat has now earned $100 million. Unbelievable, that grumpy little face used everywhere. But here's the catch. The owner of the cat says that figure is wrong. She's declining to say how much her cat has earned. The cat's owner does reportedly have a TV deal with Lifetime. Grumpy has a deal with Friskies. The two of them are behind 2 books. So $100 million or not, Grumpy is making some money. So why is he so grumpy? Nobody has the answer. I'm David Muir. I'll see you on World News Tonight. Hi everyone, David Muir here with the Facecast, and the one report making headlines all over the world, what's become known as the CIA torture report. More than 500 pages today released a summary of the 6,000-page Senate Intelligence Committee report on torture. The report saying the CIA went beyond waterboarding terror suspects in the wake of 9/11, using extreme interrogation techniques that the committee found did not actually work. The report also claims the CIA misled the White House at the time about the interrogation program. Now to one possible clue in that horrific jet crash into a home in suburban suburban Maryland. No one survived on board. A mother and her 2 young sons killed inside the home as well. And now pilots in the area where the jet crashed reporting that they saw flocks of birds in the area before the crash. The one thing making medical headlines today, and this was quite telling when it comes to prescription drugs. A new study says nearly half of patients who get a 30-day prescription from their doctor for painkillers and other drugs in the beginning actually end up on them for much longer. Nearly half still on the drugs more than 3 years later. Now to the one image from all those protests that continue across the country, and this one comes in from I-80 in Berkeley. The human blockade on the interstate, more than 1,000 people protesting grand jury decisions in the Eric Garner and Michael Brown cases, blocking that interstate. Meanwhile, here in New York City and Brooklyn, in fact, LeBron James wearing an I Can't Breathe shirt. And that was a little bit before he actually did something that caught the attention of the Brits, putting his arm around Duchess Kate, Will and Kate there for the game. But in Britain, few, if any, put their arms around the royals. The Prince and the Duchess also met Jay-Z and Beyonce. Royalty meeting royalty. And by the way, today in New York, they will visit the 9/11 memorial. Bit of a heavy day here in New York with the rain hitting, all because of that nor'easter here in the east and then that big storm in the west. We're watching that too. One more thing, we'll see you tonight on World News Tonight. Muir here with the Facecast and the one breaking headline late today. CIA Chief John Brennan publicly taking on the scathing congressional report on the CIA's use of torture, saying the program was uncharted territory in the wake of 9/11, but that it was considered lawful and was authorized by the Bush administration. Brennan said that valuable intelligence did come from the interrogations, though he said it is unknowable if those enhanced interrogation techniques were the ones that actually produced useful information. The one headline in the West, schools closed actually for the first time in years because of that historic storm. More than 100,000 California students staying home due to the weather, the first time the districts have suspended class since 9/11. The state expecting the strongest storm in years, high winds and soaking rains coming from what's called Pineapple Express, flooding roadways, overwhelming drains, thousands already without power. The storms also destroyed homes, washed away roads in parts of Washington. To the one number everyone's talking about today, 5 trillion. And listen to this. That's how many pieces of plastic researchers believe are floating in the ocean. That's 700 pieces of plastic for every 1 person in the world. And that's a conservative number, according to the researchers. And to the one image, a welcome one for so many fans out there. They were talking about this on Instagram. Cam Newton, the injured Carolina Panthers quarterback, posting this photo of his damaged truck on Instagram, along with a reminder, love the people who are close to you. Trust when I tell you that life is too short for you not to do those things. The quarterback suffering multiple fractures to his back, unclear when he'll be back on the field. And one more thing, I'll see you on World News Tonight. Hey everyone, David Muir here with the Facecast, the one thing, and really the one image so many people are studying today. Angelina Jolie face-to-face with the Sony executive after that very big leak. That's Jolie there with Sony executive Amy Pascal after those very private emails went public, all part of the major hack attack on Sony. Pascal has apologized. In one email leaked, they were criticizing Angelina Jolie's talent. In another email with producer Scott Rudin, they were joking about what they thought would be President Obama's favorite movies, Django Unchained among them. They both have acknowledged their part in the fallout to the scandal. To the one storm everybody's watching, the worst in 5 years, slamming into the West Coast, and now a new picture. Did you see the house falling into the ocean? One of several homes destroyed, this one sliding into the Pacific there in Washington State. Now the mudslide's a big concern in California, right up to the roof there. Winds at one point reaching 150 miles per hour in this system. Now to the one thing, the one blast from the past, apparently a time capsule put together by Paul Revere and Sam Adams. America's oldest time capsule from 1795, it's believed, discovered underneath the State House there in Boston by construction workers. The concrete box apparently containing some plates, some papers, coins. They've now brought in the x-ray machines. Hope there's some Sam Adams on tap for the weekend. And one more thing, hope to see you on World News Tonight. Hey everyone, David Muir here with the Facecast, and the one image the world watching today, that dramatic ending to that hostage standoff in Sydney. You can see the hostages running for their lives there, followed by heavily armed police storming a Sydney cafe, the explosions and gunfire ringing out. You can see the flashes of light on the inside. The injured carried to safety more than 16 hours after a gunman took over a dozen hostages at a Lindt chocolate cafe, as it's called there in Sydney, forcing them to hold their hands up to the windows, forcing some of them to hold a black Islamic flag. The gunman, Iranian-born, familiar to law enforcement there in Sydney, one of 3 killed in the raid. The incident now raising global concerns about lone gunmen and the new threat they pose all over the world. The one interview so many people talking about today with Bill Cosby, and he actually talks about his wife Camille. Cosby breaking his silence for the first time amid allegations of sexual assault. The comedian spoke by phone to freelance journalist Stacey Brown. Brown saying Cosby actually sounded upbeat, is the word he used. Cosby would not comment on the allegations, instead addressing the media saying, quote, "I only expect the black media to uphold the standards of excellence in journalism, and when you do that, you have to go in with a neutral mind. He also spoke lovingly about his wife, Camille, noting her, quote, strength and love. A lot of people talking about Barbara Walters' pick for the most fascinating person in the world. Number one on the list goes to Amal Clooney. She was named 2014's most fascinating person by Barbara, an accomplished human rights lawyer, a storied career in her own right. Of course, she married the longtime bachelor George Clooney in a glamorous Venice wedding. That was back in September. And one more thing we hope to see on World News Tonight. Hey everyone, David Muir here with the Facecast and the One Thing. And the one big reveal today, federal authorities now saying who they think is behind that giant Hollywood hack attack. Federal investigators now saying it's North Korea behind the devastating Sony hacking scandal. Sony canceling the Christmas release date for that movie, The Interview, featuring a fictional plot to assassinate North Korea's leader, Kim Jong-un. In my exclusive interview with President Obama, I asked him about the millions of Americans, so many of us, who head to the movies over the holidays and those threats over American movie theaters. Should Americans be worried? Here's what he said. Listen to this. Do you consider this a legitimate threat, and how concerned are you?
We'll be vigilant. If we see something that we think is serious and credible, then we'll alert the public. But for now, my recommendation would be that people go to the movies.
President urging Americans to go to the movies this holiday. The one thing from Boston, The Image, they haven't seen him in a year and a half. Marathon bombing suspect Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, the 21-year-old appearing in court today. That's a sketch from inside. There you can see the scruffy beard, the long hair, and here are the aerials. So many in New England watching this play out today. You remember that standoff with police. He's now pleading not guilty to charges, facing the possibility of the death penalty if convicted. That trial begins next month. And to the one moment popping up on news feeds all over Facebook today, we loved it.
Hi, Ryan.
We love that giggling. That's 2-year-old Ryan Apria laughing as he hears his mother's voice for the first time thanks to his new cochlear implant. A gift for him for the holidays, for that family, and a gift for us, with the family sharing it. One more thing. I'll see you on World News Tonight. Hi everyone, David Muir here with the Facecast and the one thing the president said today about Sony, I wish they'd spoken to me first when he was asked about pulling that movie. The FBI now concluding that the North Korean government is behind the devastating hack on Sony, and we're learning just how bad it really was for the company, the hackers rendering thousands of Sony computers inoperable. The president weighing in today, saying in his year-end news conference, I would have told them, do not get into a pattern in which you are intimidated. To the one athlete making headlines this Friday, Michael Phelps. Phelps has now pleaded guilty to drunken driving. He was arrested back in September when he was pulled over for speeding and crossing the double yellow line. Police say he registered a .14 on a blood alcohol test. This is his second DUI arrest. And the one goodbye as we head into the weekend for Stephen Colbert. And it was a sweet goodbye, so many people talking about this. Stephen Colbert signing off at Comedy Central last night. A star-studded sing-along. Check it out.
We'll meet again.
And we hear he's got a new gig lined up. One more thing. I'll see you on World News Tonight. Hey everyone, David Muir with the Facecast here, and the one thing shaking America's biggest city right here in New York City, the shooting deaths of 2 officers in Brooklyn simply because they were police officers. As the city mourns the fallout, pitting the mayor against members of the police force now, the union president saying Mayor Bill de Blasio has blood on his hands after his handling of protests in recent weeks that had swept the city after no charges were brought against the police officer involved in that chokehold killing of Eric Gardner. De Blasio saying the killings were an attack on everything we hold dear. The family of one of the slain officers, Rafael Ramos, saying the mayor is welcome at his funeral. The mayor visiting with the Ramos family and with the family of Officer Lou. And to the one tribute that might be in your news feed already, so many people talking about this one. Jaden Ramos, the 13-year-old son of Officer Ramos, taking to Facebook to pay tribute to his father, writing, today I had to say goodbye to my father. He was there for me every day of my life, and the best father I could ask for. It's horrible that someone gets shot dead just for being a police officer. I will always love you, and I will never forget you. It's going to be a tough holiday for that little guy and so many here in New York honoring those police officers who were shot. Now to the one thing a lot of American families are asking about, will my packages arrive on time? Teams of meteorologists watching the skies at shipping companies, FedEx and UPS, they have their own weather people. Christmas just 3 days away now, of course, a rush to get those packages delivered on time. In fact, today alone, UPS expects to deliver, get this, 34 million packages on the busiest day of the year. And to one image now that was almost better than the movie. We all remember that scene from Up taking flight with his house. Take a look at this. 90 helium balloons and one heck of a view over the Utah mountains. That daredevil Eric Gardner, look at this. He uses a shotgun to assist a once-in-a-lifetime free fall back to Earth, taking out those balloons one at a time. One thing we won't be trying over the holiday. But one more thing. We'll see you on World News Tonight. Hey everyone, the countdown is on until Christmas. David Muir here with the Facecast, and the one thing breaking today. A stunning reversal for the movie at the center of the Sony hacking scandal. Sony Pictures now announcing today that they will go forward with the release of The Interview. That movie in a limited theatrical release on Christmas Day. One theater already confirming to ABC News that they will show the movie. As you'll recall, the president called the decision by Sony to pull the movie at first a mistake, assuring the public that there is no credible evidence of a serious threat posed by North Korea. To the one headline involving aviation and planes and so many people traveling home for the holiday, bringing home gifts, it turns out another group carrying home something else. Authorities now saying a Delta baggage handler was arrested for allegedly smuggling guns onto a passenger jet. He allegedly flew from Atlanta to New York City, where officials say they stopped him and found 18 guns in his carry-on backpack. Officials say that he was conspiring with another former Delta worker who was responsible for smuggling over 100 guns onto jets this year. Those guns carried in the cabin right along with other passengers. 4 men have now been arrested. And to the one moment on the highway that everyone is talking about today, check this out.
She just hit our car.
A case of road rage in Northern California. Millions of Americans on the roads right now traveling home, but look at this. 2 women inside a car, they start rolling. They say the woman there in the front in that pickup truck, it's a case of road rage, they say. They called the authorities. Police were waiting for that woman at an exit up along the highway. They stopped her, arrested her. It turns out she'd just been released after a hit and run. Apparently she'd gotten out of jail that morning. Didn't take long. Nothing like road rage for Christmas. Hope you're having a great week, and one more thing. We'll see you on World News Tonight.